This is the plaintiff, Renee. She says she gave the defendant a deposit on a house she was renting. Then the woman went crazy or something because she cashed the check, and when she was ready to move in, the woman kicked her off the property. Huh? This woman put her through mental anguish. She's suing her for $5,300, and she fully expects to be awarded just that today. This is the defendant, Anne. She says the plaintiff lied to her about where she worked, and when she went to check out her story, she was told she hadn't worked there in weeks. Besides, she didn't move into the place because she didn't have the money to. She's the one who lost out on rent, wasting her time with this plaintiff, and owes nothing. She's accused of holding on tight to the money. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $8,000 for loss of potential rent, utilities, and landscaping.
All parties, please raise your right hands. Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says she was ready to move into the defendant's apartment, but when she finally showed up, she was told to beat it. Now, the defendant says the plaintiff's background story didn't check out, and she didn't have the rent. It's the case of Get Off My Property.
Thank you, Douglas. Okay, Ms. Renee, what happened here?
Well, my mother and I, we were, we were looking to, rent elsewhere, and we rode through her neighborhood and happened to see a for rent sign. And I called her and inquired on it. At that time, I asked her, a little bit about the house and, the cost of it. And then she started asking questions like, as far as like, are you a Trump supporter? Where are you from? Just asking different stuff. And, it just felt kind of odd, but I was like, okay, well, let me just talk to her. And I ended up talking to her, and it felt like she was talking to me like she knew me for a while, but it was just kind of odd when she asked me, do you support Trump? And, where are you from? Just personal questions. And I didn't even know her.
So, what answers did she want, do you think?
I'm sure she wanted me to say yes. I did. I'm sure she wanted me to say yes. I told her I did not, and she was asking me why, and I just didn't want to go in.
Okay, I got it. So let's go on. So what happens? You see the place and you like it?
Absolutely. I liked it. I liked the neighborhood and everything. So we for a minute there, we lost contact. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe she rented it to somebody else. She decided not to go with me. This was before we even got to the contract.
Yeah, I don't need to hear about that, though. Let's jumpstart to things that happen after the 300, because everything that happened beforehand doesn't really matter now. So what happens after that deposit?
I got $300 check, and $300 in a check. She said she would not cash it. She would take all the money when I move in. Everything that I owed would be included with that, and she would give me my check back. A few days before it was time for me to move in, she cashed the check. And so I said, I said, that's fine, because I'm planning on moving into the house anyways on June 1st. So when we get to the point, we get close to June 1st, I get all these text messages.
Can I ask you something? At this point, was there a written lease between you guys, or everything was verbal?
Everything was verbal. No written, nothing was written. This is
all right. And so at this point, a few days before June 1st, when you're going to move in, what was the agreement? What was the amount of the rent? What was the verbal agreement?
Security deposit plus the first month rent, and then there was a pet fee that I was supposed to pay as well. The $300 was
how much?
$300 was
$300. Okay. And then how much was the rent and security? $1,300 each?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So then what happens? Now it's the last few days of May, right before moving in, and what happens?
Well, I asked her, why does she still have a for rent sign if she plans on renting to me? I honestly don't think she had any intention on renting to me. So she sent me a text message saying, stay to H, I don't know if I can pronounce, stay to H off her property. Do not drive by my street. So basically she's telling me, I'm not going to rent to you. I don't want you about my property. I don't want you anywhere around my property.
What happens to break down things where she doesn't end up moving in, according to you?
She doesn't have the full amount to pay.
Meaning what?
She said she had $2,300, but she needed $26. She was $300 short.
Because according to you, she's supposed to pay a total of $2,900. You've already got $300. So she has, in order to move in, she needs $2,600 more. And according to her, you're saying she tells you, I only have 23. And so what was going to happen with the other 300? What was she saying?
She never actually said she only had 23. She said she was $300 short. And she said that she would write a check and have me hold it for the pet deposit.
Okay, because we're calling that the other 300. Go ahead. And then what happens? You didn't want to do that.
No, she had to have the full amount in order to move in.
So, Ms. Renee, I have a text here that is in evidence where you text Ms. Ann and you say, actually, the total amount due should be $2,300 as you cashed my $300 check already. I explained to you yesterday about not having the pet fee at this time. I can sign a contract stating I owe you, and we'll pay you the $300 pet fee by the end of next week, or I can give you a check and you can hold it for the pet fee. Did you send that text on May 30th?
I did.
Okay. Well, the problem with that is that's not the agreement, is it? The agreement is that you're supposed to come up with a total of $2,900, and then $300 is taken off of that because you've already paid that. So what you're supposed to come up with is $2,600. Now, if you said that to me a few days before June, I might say, yeah, no problem, whatever. But she didn't because she didn't want to. So it is what it is, right? So apparently, if she had said to you, no worries, you would have moved in. So when I'm asking you, why didn't you move in, it doesn't sound like it's because she told you not to go to her property. It sounds like because you didn't have the money. Let's look at May 31st and the correspondence between you folks. Where do we go from here? I'm ready to move in. I've been prepared to move, so let me know. But you're $300 short. There's back and forth between you, and you say, almost all of this going back and forth was a misunderstanding. I didn't call you a slumlord. Why does she think that you called her a slumlord?
Well, but she brought it to my attention. She said she was the one that mentioned slumlord. And so.
Okay. All right. So you say, I can move in June 1st with what I owe, which is $2,300. But Ms. Renee, you're wrong about that. You owe $2,900 minus $300, which means you have to pony up another $2,600, right?
But I had $2,600 to give her on the 1st, and we were going back and forth, and she didn't want to apply. First of all,
I'm sorry. You said your emails don't say, your texts don't say that. What your texts say is I have $2,300 to give you.
She didn't want the $300. She wasn't going to apply the $300 period. She thought that was given to her just to hold, and it was not going to be
Not at
applied.
all. Not at all. Not at all. You need to come up with $2,600. No, but that's just not true. Let's look at the text, okay? This is you. I understand that. I do not have the pet deposit right now. It's very clear you're $300 short because you're telling her that. And $300 is the amount of the pet deposit. I don't have the pet deposit right now. Now, landlords can demand the deposit before you walk in. There's nothing wrong with what she's saying. So I have the deposit, which is $1,000 minus the $300 you already, and the $1,300 for the first of the month for a rent, for a total of $2,300. I have this to give to you this afternoon. Where do we go from here? I'm ready to move in, but you're supposed to pony up $2,600 to move in. So her answer is, the $300 was for me to hold it for you. That was for me to hold it for you. Is that what you're trying to say, that you think the $300 is just free money for her, that that's what she's trying to say? I do believe I've been talking with you since the 20th. So let me ask you, Ms. Ann, were you trying to not apply the $300 to anything because you feel that that was just a hold fee?
Oh, no. The $300 was supposed to go, that was supposed to be part of the, she still owed the $2,600. I already had $300.
So really the agreement between you guys is very clear, and it's right here, spelled out. I agree to make a deposit of $300 as a deposit to hold the house. Deposit means that you get the credit at some point. In the event I change my mind, I forfeit it. But in the event she changes her mind, she has to hand it back to me. So isn't it you who's changing the terms?
No, it's not. Then she changed the terms as well, because she also said, I'm gonna go ahead and use that $300 towards your pet fee.
It's real simple. I don't care if it goes to pet fee or to rent. I know that in the end, the agreement is $2,900. If you've already given $300, then you have to come up with $2,600 to get in. And she, does say some confusing things about, well, no, that was just money for me. But she clearly, before rental time, figures it out and says you need to come up with $2,600 before moving. Let me ask you a question. Do you think something else was going on? Do you think she just didn't want to rent to you? Do you think that she changed her mind on renting to someone who doesn't support Trump? What do you think about it? Do you think she's some kind of hater? What is it?
Well, I mean, based on her conversations and saying that, when she found out, she asked me, was I black? And I told her, yes, this was before I even met her over the phone.
She asked you on the phone, are you black?
And she said, well, I have black friends. She said, you're not loud and like the other black friends. And she said, don't take offense to it. And so that was kind of strange to me. But
Can I ask you a question? I'm taking offense to it. Why would you even proceed after that? Why would you give her your hard-earned dollars?
I liked her home. I know. And then, so it's like, it was just the conversations that we had. And then they had some dispute with saying they have some Muslims in their neighborhood, and they got disputed. I mean, they said go to your
Wait, what are you
country
talking about?
It's an article about her and her husband. So I just believe that.
I'm sorry, hold on. Did you submit it into evidence?
I did. I sent it to.
Give me a second. Do you know what she's talking about, Miss Ann?
I don't know what article she's talking about per se because I don't know what she's read, but it doesn't have anything to do with this case.
But you know what she's referring to?
My husband had gotten into trouble. That's what she's talking about. It's an article on my husband.
What was the trouble?
Him and my neighbor, we had a issue.
Okay, your husband got arrested for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon because of a dispute with a neighbor where, according to the neighbor, it was a hate crime. That's what she's referring to. And that he yelled at them and pointed an AK-47 at him and at the Muslim neighbor and his children, yelling, "I'm going to kill all you Muslims. Get out of my country. Don't talk to my wife." What was that about, Ms. Ann?
Welcome back to the People's Court. Will the plaintiff get delayed justice in the form of the deposit, or is she out of luck? Let's go back into the courtroom.
My neighbor and I, the female neighbor and I, we were becoming friends. Long story short, the husband started making passes at me, and I mentioned it to my husband. My husband approached him. There was no weapon that was pulled. It was only broadcast that loud because of the neighbor being Muslim. It was not a hate crime whatsoever. No weapon.
Well, no, it was broadcast like that because the neighbor said he pulled an assault rifle out on me and told me to go home, you Muslims, and my children were there. My children now have to sleep in my bed. And then when the police went in, they actually did confiscate a rifle or shotgun, right? They actually confiscated it. What happened to the case? When was this anyway? How long ago?
Oh, the case was dropped. He got probation on it.
Okay, that's not dropped. That's probation. But how long ago was that?
I don't know, 3 years ago?
A couple of years. That was 3 years ago. All right, but here's the thing, Ms. Renee, I don't know that it would be legitimate to say she just changed her mind on you when I have all this back and forth text where she doesn't change her mind on you. I don't think it's legitimate to say, I think it's a bizarre question on the phone. Are you black? Are you loud? I would not go. I think that's a racist thing to ask. I also note that after she met you, she's baking you tomato pies and wanting to be, very friendly with you and wanting to rent to you. So it's all kind of weird. But here's the bottom line. I have a contracts case in front of me, and I have to figure out which of the two of you breached. I have to figure out which of the two of you breached first. And when I'm looking at these texts, the evidence is clear. What is clear is that what you have is $2,300 to move in. You have to pony up we're done. $2,600 to move in. And you weren't ponying up $2,600 to move in. You wanted to come in with $2,300, and that wasn't going to fly. And then you said, I want to pick up my deposit. And I have to decide who breached, and it sounds like you breached. Now, you have a $5,300 lawsuit against her. You've turned $300 into an additional $3,000 for mental anguish, $1,000 for aggravation, and $1,000 for inconvenience. Wow. Okay, why stop there? Now, you have a counterclaim against her for $8,000. What? What is that about?
I couldn't rent her in June.
$4,794.83 of your lawsuit is monies for defamation. What defamation?
There's an email there that she sent the news station. Do you see that email?
An email she sent to who?
The TV station.
Trying to get help to get her $300 back?
Yes.
My name is Renee, and I'm writing it to you. This is a TV station. I believe she is a racist slumlord landlord running a scam. There may be others that she may have scammed out of their money as well. And I would like to report her because she might be running a rental scam. I believe she is a racist slumlord landlord running a scam. What caused you to say that?
Based on the article I read and based on her conversations as far as, are you black? You know, you don't sound loud like the normal black people that I know, why don't you support Trump? And so I'm beginning to think she had no intention on renting to me anyways.
But you and I both know that's not true, because over and over and over, she was saying, you got to come up with this amount of money. So now she's suing for a bunch of nonsense, but part of what she's suing for is, hey, I'm out rent because she didn't move in. And she wants another $1,000 from you for the rent. What's your answer to that? Because she wants to be made whole. She doesn't have a renter. She can't get a renter that fast for June.
She said she had other renters.
If you had other renters, then were you able to re-rent it for June?
No, I didn't have other renters.
It's very hard to get another renter in 6 hours, you know, of whatever was left of May 31st. But Ms. Ann, here's the problem with what you're saying when you say that you're entitled to the rest of June. You actually specifically entered into a contract with her where the remedy for her deciding not to rent is she loses her $300, and you already have her $300. So since that's the specific remedy that you chose in that little contract you entered into, that is all I'm going to allow you to keep or have. So on her claim against you, I believe you're entitled to the $300, and she's not entitled to aggravation, mental anguish, and inconvenience. On your counterclaim against her for $8,000, I believe that you have picked what your remedy is, which is in the contract that you signed, which is you get to keep the $300. That's my verdict. Good luck, folks.
Let me ask, I want to ask Renee a couple of questions first. Renee, explain to me why you wrote to the television station. What did you expect them to do?
No, because I know they have, you know, issues with if you feel like you're being scammed, you know, they have articles like that. And I believe I thought she was part of a rental scam. And I thought I was being scammed.
Are you comfortable now where you're living? Did you find a new apartment yet?
I did.
Okay, well, very good. Well, that's the outcome of the case for you. Ms. Ann, let me ask you about all the things that went on here. I'm prompted to ask you, do you always ask people questions like, are you black? Are you loud? Things like that? Because that, you know, that could get you in trouble.
She's just trying to get something for nothing. I never asked her that. I am not racist.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And that'll wrap up this really very interesting case, to say the least. Now it's time for another session of After the Verdict. Here are the judges.
Quite a bit of information to sort out between these two. They had this relationship that lasted for many weeks over whether she was going to rent this place. Both parties asking for thousands of dollars in damages. And the reality is, when you're looking for a rental unit, it's all subject to supply and demand. And depending on the market, landlords can ask for a lot of stuff. They can ask for references, they can do a criminal background check, they can do a landlord-tenant index check to see if you've ever been evicted, they can do a credit check, they can make sure your socks don't smell when you come over for an interview. It's amazing what they can do. I mean, the Fair Housing Act obviously protects everybody from discrimination based on race, sex, disability, national origin, familial status, things like that. And we're all protected by that. But once you get past that, when you find that that's not a factor, it really is about, do you have all the money? And if you don't have all the money...
I don't know. I can't say because I don't know her from a hole in the wall. I did read the article. I hear what the plaintiff is saying, but I also see the text. And they had met, and she's buying, you know, I made you a tomato pie. Yeah. I mean, so, you know, I don't need to decide whether she's a racist.
But there was a whole lot
I need to decide if you don't have the money when you're moving in.
Right.
I am the arbiter of a contract.
Exactly. You know? And that's really what it came down to, the money. Isn't it always the money?
Yeah.
Okay, so Ron wants to know this. Hey, Harvey, if I win a money judgment but the judgment debtor refuses to pay, can I sell that debt to a collection agency? I love doing this because sometimes you can answer just in one word. Yes. We'll see you next time.